Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim here with Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and welcome to another episode of the Power Hour.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome to big episode 56.
Yeah, we've been having a lot of guests, and we have plenty more lined up, but Jim and I said, you know what, let's just do one with just us so we can knock out a few topics we've been wanting to get to, and then we can let the craziness commence.
Yeah, we got to play catch up a little bit. And also, big shout out and thank you to Blade Blur for joining us last time. It was a great episode.
Yeah, we truly appreciate it, bud.
Indeed. But we did a little bit of an oopsie. It was getting late. It was a little bit after midnight, and we get up early for work, so we kind of had to cut it off without getting to the Patreon questions. So we figured we're going to just start with the Patreon questions, the ones for last time and the ones for this time, which you can submit a question to us for the Power Hour podcast at patreon.com/DrinkABeerandPlayAGame, where for as little as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive content. And $2 a month, you will ask a question that we will answer on this Power Hour podcast. And then it goes from there and there and there.
I'll even settle if you just start subscribing to us on iTunes.
I'll take that too. And please leave a comment and a review.
But yeah, so let's run through these. But before we do, Jim has, as he said at the last podcast, his wife had got him a great gift for Christmas. And so we're continuing to look at these beers. So from the Sand Creek Brewing Company, we're checking out the Single Track Pale Ale.
It is a sweet malty flavor and light hop aroma and a well-balanced bitterness finish. Light hop aroma might be underselling it.
Yeah, it's actually mostly hop aroma. Yeah, they got it. It's a little backwards, but we'll save our opinions until we're done the bottle. But this comes out of Black River Falls, Wisconsin, so...
Nice, clear, brownish, amberish look to it.
Yeah.
Nicely carbonated. Good lacing on the head.
I like... Yeah.
You like lacing on your head? You like it foamy?
Jim.
Is that what you're getting at, you son of a bitch?
I like leaving the traces.
God.
Just want to see the discoloration.
God damn it. Well, we're starting off on a good foot here. So, Patreon questions.
All right, let's go through these.
All right, so from last podcast. First up, G to the next level. What are some of your favorite video game intro sequences? Like cutscenes or cinematically when you start a game and then you get engrossed and fired up to play after watching?
Oh, without doubt, Resident Evil 1.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
The movie, the FMG. I used to get so hyped. They have the...
Full motion gangbang?
It was... Damn it, Jim. FMG. You know what I meant. Shut up.
I just had to find out.
But no, I basically look at it like it was a legit, fairly well produced, but very cheesy. Had that like 90s hard guitar, like heavy metal at the end. It just got you hyped first going into that game. And that's the one that sticks out the most, probably because it's my favorite game also.
Yeah, and even with the title screen where it's, Chris going down the hallway and then it just zooms in on him.
And the eye, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I guess a quick one I'll go with will be the original Rogue Squadron on N64 because what?
I'm not saying nothing, Jim. I'm being respectful.
Because when you see it comes up with the Lucasfilm logo, but then it actually turns into the playfield with TIE fighters and X-Wings and a level of this Star Wars fandom that you really didn't see before in a 3D space like this to that point on a console. So it's a thing that's like, oh, this is what I'm getting into. This is going to be awesome.
Okay, Jim. I'm not... Did I say anything? Did I say anything?
You didn't have to say anything.
I'm just
said it with your whore eyes. That's what you said it with.
Listening, Jim. Don't judge me.
No, yeah. I don't think I'm the one judging right now, Brian. That's not how it's coming off right now.
The people will know.
Oh, I'm sure they will. All right, next question. Good one, G. Thank you. From Game Whisperer Dean. Did you know that Super Mario Bros. 2 was originally released in Japan as Doki Doki Panic? Brad, did you ever hear that?
Never heard it.
Did you ever hear about that?
Jim, I certainly never heard it from the nerd or from you or from anybody else.
I'm going to have to fact check this.
I don't buy it. It's all bullshit.
Nah, that never happened. All right, from Eric Lewacki. Earthbound is overrated. Change my mind.
No, it is.
I mean, everyone, you know what? I've never played it because, RPGs are terrible games, but when it comes to talking to my RPG friends, almost all of them say Earthbound is overrated. I don't know if they're speaking in terms of what it costs to, how people talk it up or just in general.
Yeah, I mean, whenever somebody's silly enough to put out the price that, that this game has gone for, aka people like.
No, I got mine in a
And
bundle.
I know, but my point is, you overpay for shit, and then once you do, you all of a sudden find value, and it's a much better game than maybe it was. Whereas if it was $1 game, it would not even be considered like. Maybe then it would be considered underrated because then it would be like, oh, this is actually a pretty solid RPG.
Right.
But for the price and for other RPGs of the time, I would take Chrono Trigger over that any day.
I think most would.
Yeah, so.
Or Final Fantasy VI or stuff like that. Like, Earthbound has its fans and it has its charm, but...
It's fine. I'm not even suggesting it's a bad game. It's just definitely overrated.
Right. All right. Gamer Astral. When do you think Polymega will finally release its system? It seems like it's been ages since it was announced. Has your mind changed about it? It was I think it was like a month ago. Like, they went radio silent on Twitter for like a good couple months. Like, I want to say from like September, maybe early October of 2019 until like maybe the end of December this year. When they're like, oh, it's coming. And lately their marketing has been like showing a picture of like the slot for the Genesis console or like the controllers and just saying controller, game slot, shit like that. So they're still talking about it, and I'm guessing it's still going to be coming out, maybe this year, but they still haven't really given any concrete info yet.
So I just looked it up, and multiple sources are reporting that as of today,
What's today?
Well, as of this article, January 22nd. So technically by today, Polymega is getting beta units and signups are open now.
Oh.
So they're, I guess, trying to move. I think the problem with all these companies is when you start developing a product, you obviously need input from the public and you need interest very early. And you want to show demos and you want to show all the cool shit it can do. But I would be like very reticent to say, like, you better start waiting till you're 80% almost done and then release, so that way people aren't waiting all the time.
But I mean, it was also a Kickstarter project too.
I know, but like my point is, even with the Kickstarter, say, okay, thank you for your funds. Now we're working towards X, but don't give any false promises. Don't give away too much, because if you reveal too much, as we've seen with, especially in the video game industry, how many crazy amount of games have been delayed? How many developers have pushed back consoles? Like, it happens over and over, and it's like, Polymega, it felt like they had a lot of steam behind them, and like everything, I'm sure there was something that happened in development that can just fuck it up royally. So,
especially when it's like, it's ambitious. It's an ambitious system. Yeah. So they're trying to do everything. So I get it. And also they've had their PR snafus here and there. So I don't know. It's been kind of a weird development cycle for this thing.
But
not as bad as the Atari VCS, mind
this
you.
This is the same old story all the time. Like, what was that Coleco and Television thing?
Coleco Chameleon.
Yeah, like, how many of these systems are we going to keep seeing making these promises or trying to throw out things when they're not really there yet?
Yeah, actually in Television, I think it was today, started their pre-orders for the Amico, so you can get like the Founders Edition for a $100 refundable like down payment, basically.
Which I'm fine with Kickstarters, I'm fine with all that, but don't try to make it so public and be throwing so much out there. Just stick to your Kickstarter. Release info when you're much closer to the finish line.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still interested just in the base unit for the Polymega, just for the CD unit itself.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like that CD, that like emulator console, like, I think it kind of came and went. I don't even remember what happened to that thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
We talked about it ages ago, but...
Yeah. But, I mean, I don't know. I just think, do the gym model. He knows he's not going to perform well, and take whatever avenue you want. And so
it's not wrong.
He's not really going to sell it, but then there are some things he oversells and then he undershoots. So, under promise.
I mean, I got nothing. Wife's a good woman. She deals with a lot.
I'm not saying nothing.
Gives me these wonderful gifts. These wonderful gifts of beer. Poor girl. Anyway. Moving on to the next set of questions. So for this podcast,
yep.
Gamer Astral, Red Bull or Monster? Red Bull? What was that? Red Bull or Monster?
Jesus, Jim. What are you doing?
Take two break. What am I doing?
Red Bull.
Has my lifetime of bad decisions finally like caught up to me and just like the brain doesn't work anymore?
Oh goodness.
All right, Red Bull or Monster? That's the question.
I'll go Monster just because I like the varieties of Monster. I mean, I don't drink that shit anyway. After numerous.
We've both had heart palpitations from
Yeah,
it.
like it's fucked me up to a point where I was shaking. So, but I remember taste-wise, I like Monster a lot better. And Red Bull was the old standard, especially when I played hockey. I would have like 3 of those in the morning before a game, which was a terrible idea. But I'm over Red Bull. The only time I have Red Bull nowadays is if it's like a Red Bull vodka or somebody's giving me a Jaeger. Like if you're giving me a shot with it in it, which is not smart either.
Right. Uppers and downers.
That's actually the only way I drink Red Bull. But Monster, I used to love the coffee ones. And, phew, man. Those, and I think it was the blue one. I forget.
Blue was the low carb one.
Yeah, but no, definitely Monster for me.
Yeah, I'm a Monster guy too. My devil's drink right there was the white Boomer one. So,
Of course, Jim.
that's the one I like the most.
I actually, it's
Right,
funny.
the obvious answer is Rockstar though.
Well, I was gonna say I don't think I've actually tried Rockstar or
Their coffee one's pretty damn good.
or Bang or Nas. Like I know there's a lot of other things out there. I think you and I both might together had Four Locos when that was a thing.
Oh, dude, my buddies and I, we used to drink Four Locos like crazy when they first came out. When it had all the bad shit in it. Like when you could drink 2 and you would be floored.
Yeah, that was bad.
They were fucking great. I miss them.
Well, they still have them. They're just not what they were.
They are not what they were.
It's kind of like getting NyQuil these days without the actual shit that makes you sleepy.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, Monster Monster.
Monster.
As Jim says.
Well, that's how he wrote it. He wrote it like that. I'm the victim here.
Context, Jim. Learn how to read.
Look, I've gone this long without knowing. I don't have to learn now. All right, Eric Lewacki. Do you guys see yourselves being more active in your Twitch page in the near future? Ooh.
Yes, with the caveat.
Probably you.
But yeah, being more active meaning I don't even want to suggest a schedule.
Is that more active than not?
It's basically
Than zero? More than zero?
Best case, once or twice a month. Just because at the point I'm at right now, the one reason why I'm not on Twitch, I used to like going on Twitch because I would basically stream it, get the footage from it, and then use that. But the problem when you get footage from Twitch itself is you got your own camera or your own audio coming through. So if I'm streaming through Twitch, then the purpose of that is so I can talk to you guys. And if I want the footage for a review or something, I don't want my audio of me talking fucking that up. And I've tried to run my rig where I'm running OBS and trying to actually like get the footage separately and the audio file separately and then stream it through Twitch. And it never worked out. My computer is good, but it's definitely not that good. So until I would get a better computer, I doubt that'll happen. But in the meantime, I probably will just stream on Twitch and maybe just do a more casual game so I can type responses back to you guys.
Actually, it's kind of crazy that your editing rig in there we've had since we started the page in friggin' 2013. Mm-hmm. Died on us a couple times, but still there. Still works.
It's clugging along, so.
All right. Next up, Game Whisperer Dean. Did you get anything in the Steam sale this year?
No, as I said to Jim, I actually bought a lot of shit on Steam during a lot of their sales throughout the years, and even less than my Xbox or PS4 where I have a whole entire external hard drives filled with games that I need to get to. That's my version of shelf collecting when I wait for a game that's under $5 and I just buy it. I actually had a really big GOG or GOG.com, that whole service, which is basically just like Steam. But no, I'm strictly at a point now. I have to like basically allow myself to beat 5 to 10 games in my current library before I buy a new game.
I don't ever PC game, so I never touch Steam really.
He's not the gamer.
Right, I have a certain taste at this point. You'll see.
Taste of cock.
Jesus Christ.
Is there a problem with that, Jim?
I mean, yeah. But that's besides the point. All right, and finally from G to the next level. What are your guys' thoughts on the new line of arcade one-up cabinets that were shown off at this year's CES? I almost shed a tear when I saw that beautiful Sega 5-in-1 Golden Axe Revenge of Death Adder cabinet. Cheers.
The arcade one-up, they're all impressive, but honestly, still, as Jim and I said, I'm not going to shell out the money for them. If I can find a really good deal, somebody secondhand selling them, and they're in really good condition, I'd consider it. But I don't have a place to display them right now, especially with, all the other games I have, all the other shit. So I like them, but I'm personally not going to be the one to get them.
Yeah, I mean, I know that my interest in playing it would just wane after like a week. So that's why I haven't jumped in on them. Though it is cool that like the one he mentioned, especially having Revenge of Death Adder, a game that's never been ported anywhere. Like that's awesome to see. And the games that comes with it is also pretty cool. And then they've had like, the Turtles in Time cabinet come out with the 4-player cab to it. And they've really stepped up their game from their initial run of stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're cool, but it's a thing that I just can't ever see myself doing. And they actually have a line of pinball tables they have coming out.
Don't you dare.
No, I'm not. Because the last thing I heard, I don't think they confirmed it, but it's going to be between $500 and $700 for a table. And it's a digital screen with just like some buttons. If I'm going to be playing digital pinball, I'm just going to play it on my Switch or any of my consoles with all my pinball games anyway. Like, if you're going to buy an actual pinball machine, you want an actual pinball machine. So, to me, those seem like the most ridiculous. But, yeah, like, I think they're a cool concept. I think they're overpriced for what they are in general, just for the quality of what they are. But, if you want to get it, have at it.
Yeah, and it's not that different, but I've decided this year I may probably build myself a dude I work with.
MAME cabinet?
Well, yeah, like with a Pi, do the full display, do the actual toggles. Like, I already know how to do it, how to program it, so it's just a matter of building it, and I think I'll probably build one. So maybe I'll make some videos about that, and that'll be something I'd be more likely to play because then I can basically upload limitless all the games I want to it. So,
Bri, put all the porno arcade games on there.
Jim, that's for daddy time only.
Bri, I'm a daddy too. Invite me over.
No.
Right, 2-player.
No.
All right, but with that finishes up our questions. So thanks again to all of our patrons for submitting them to us. Good questions. Sorry we couldn't get to them last time, but, we try to get to them. Make sure we get to them for you guys.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you guys. The first topic, and Jim wrote most of these topics today, but for those of you who follow us on Twitter, Jim is one of the few people. There's some people, like, I go on Twitter, honestly, just once in a while. I repost stuff from our page. I check out stuff for, like, horror things. Like, I'm not an active Twitter user by any stretch of the imagination.
I'm addicted.
Sometimes I see Jim. Jim posts a lot of stuff that just makes me shake my head. As most of our friends. When Jim says many things, we all just shake our heads. And it's like, okay.
My life is a combination of content whoring and shit posting. That's what I am.
And the problem is, Jim has blurred the lines. Like, he's kind of like, a wrestler who's been doing a bad character too long and probably can't tell the truth. Like, he says things which I can't tell if he's trying to get shock value or if he believes. But I've known Jim long enough that some things he truly believes. And this question was posed on Twitter from DariaPlays. And it was, which console is worse?
It was basically which was the more detrimental console between the Wii U and the Dreamcast.
Yeah, to which Jim, naturally, as I said, when he makes terrible purchases they paid too much for, he'll justify till the ends of the earth. And we've been down this road with Jim with the Wii U. Most people have already, we know. He's special. And he, of course, said, oh, the Dreamcast was way worse than the Wii U, the controller. That's always his biggest thing with that. And I had to step in.
Terrible.
I had to step in, had to pull him in his place. He made terrible points back and forth. And so now we wanted to bring it on here. So, Jim.
As one of our classic bits,
spin
on which is better.
Yeah. So I'll offer you the choice. Do you want me to go first or do you want me to go after you?
You can go first.
Okay. Good. Because I just want to sit back and hear whatever dribble comes out of you. So, as I pointed out, Jim's biggest thing is the Dreamcast had a terrible remote, which is a funny coming from a guy who loves the N64 remote and defends it even though that's rated the worst remote ever.
That is something that someone brought up.
Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of mentality you're working with here. So when he brings it up in his point, it's already invalid. So that's already done. My whole point was the Wii U, the worst selling home console for Nintendo.
Yep. Virtual Boy.
I said home console, meaning not mobile. I don't even know what the fuck you want to consider Virtual Boy. That was its own... whatever. But my point is, I shit on the Wii U because Jim defends it. If he didn't defend it so hard, I probably would give it some. I would back off. But the problem is, Jim, because he spent way too much on it after it's probably his second, third party, and he got some games with it. I've always said it was essentially a tech demo for the Switch. Switch is amazing. I'm not going to argue about the Switch and the validity of that.
Speaking of,
shut up.
Your Switch was by your toilet today.
I know it was.
Never touching your Switch.
If you're not playing your Switch on the toilet, then you're doing something wrong.
I've actually never brought my Switch on the toilet with me.
Then you don't know how to see. This is what we're dealing with. A guy that can't even...
I respect my Switch.
No, you just don't know how to play it. You're probably that one guy that like always leaves it on the home dock and sits there and plays it.
Actually, most people I talk to keep it docked. I never keep it docked. I'm always undocked.
Makes sense for you, Jim. But for the rest of us, the ones that know the Wii U isn't any good, let's get back to the goddamn point.
Okay.
So, the controller sucked for the Wii U. You walk away too far, it disconnects from the system. Once again, it was trying to set an idea for the Switch, and it didn't have all the kinks worked out. And instead of really developing it the way they should have, they just rushed it out to compete with 360 and PS3, which the games were laughable, most of them, when it came to actually competing from any kind of graphical standpoint, aside from first-party titles, which they always do gangbusters, so it's no surprise. But the true joke of it is all those first-party titles they knew were just going to be lined up for a better port on the Switch. And anybody today is going to tell you, I'm just playing Mario Kart 8. I'm playing Splatoon 2 now, or Breath of the Wild on the Switch. Nobody's going back to their Wii U to play those games. And those are basically the flagship games that made the Wii U even semi-meh. And then you add on to the fact that the fucking laughable nature of online for the Wii U was just, it was awful. So that system was just a complete bust through and through. And then you have the Dreamcast, which it only basically sold for 18 months, and it outsold the Wii U for many, many, many years. It took the Wii U like 8 years of being out to finally pass the Dreamcast, that's sad in itself. But the Dreamcast, as I said on Twitter, first console I could think of that was affordable, because Neo Geo was not affordable, that really did a decent port of arcade games. Games like Crazy Taxi, House of the Dead, Jim's favorite, Typing of the Dead, because it was innovative and being the first system that really brought in a keyboard like that. The first system that, whether you want to use it or not, I use that web browser on there. Maybe not for the best purposes, but the point is, it could do that. Some could say it had better internet connectivity than a Wii U. I don't know. You tell me. But the Dreamcast had titles that weren't guaranteed to be ported. So even though eventually PS2 and other things many years later would port the games, it wasn't like the Wii U's games, which they damn well knew were coming right over to the Switch. So there is no true exclusive for the Wii U that didn't have a plan to come right to Switch. Dreamcast didn't have those kind of plans, so they had just far superior first person and just console exclusive titles for it. It was a system that revolutionized Resident Evil games with Resident Evil Code Veronica. It was a system that, it actually fought back EA Sports and was able to bring 2K really to the forefront and make that its own thing. The graphics, the sound, everything was pristine with that system. The biggest fault was that goddamn stupid controller and its short-ass runtime. The other interesting thing, that stupid-ass, and I'm calling it stupid, the VMU thing, some would say that's the inspiration for Wii U and having another screen to play a little game on to your little controller. Who knows? But I'm saying that was the inspiration. So by default, Dreamcast is obviously better than the Wii U.
Well,
and don't forget, this is the guy that loves the Nintendo 64 controller and it's voted the worst controller by everyone. Go.
The funny thing about the controller thing, I'll say it first, is I didn't say the Dreamcast controller was the worst controller ever. I just said it was a bad controller. Everyone just starts freaking out going, well, this controller's worse. This controller's worse. Mm-hmm. Sure. Master System controller, way worse. Television Coleco controllers, way worse. Mm-hmm. And 64, better. But the Dreamcast controller...
You're in that lonely cesspool by yourself.
I know. It is a sack of crap.
Just like having that dick in your hand.
If you enjoy having awful, hard, overly raised up plasticky buttons with a shit D-pad.
We're not talking about the N64. Move on to the Dreamcast.
Buttons that will just rape your fingers. And a analog stick with so much dead zone space inside of it. Oh, and let's not forget the genius idea to put the cord on the bottom for maximal convenience right there.
He didn't get the hint that, remember in 8 Mile when Eminem pointed out all the bad things, you're not supposed to repeat them? So he's going to repeat them. So keep going, Jim.
Look, it comes down to one very simple argument for which one was more detrimental. Mm-hmm. Wii U led to the Switch. Mm-hmm. Dreamcast led to a bunch of ports on every other console because it basically killed Sega. Mm-hmm. So, one, your idea of it was planned to have all the Wii U games be ported later on, come on.
Nintendo officials have already reported that.
When did they report that?
They had
show me the receipts, Brian.
Why would it be a receipt?
Let's see.
I didn't purchase that knowledge.
But how show the article that says where they're like, oh, we just knew this was going to go to the Switch. Let's see.
If you look at their patents, it was lined up for the Switch to come right after the Wii U. So they were already in development of the Switch.
Yeah, every console as soon as they release a console, they start developing for the new one right away. So now with the intent of having the games ported over there.
What they have after the Dreamcast?
Nothing, because it failed so bad.
So then
Sega gave
every
up.
console did it.
Yeah, but they just did lazy ports of every single game to it. Everyone that you want. Crazy Taxi came out to everything. Code Veronica came out to a shitload of stuff. Then Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 eventually got ported. And Skies of Arcadia. And Phantasy Star Online. So all like 6 games that anyone ever cared about from the Dreamcast, they all eventually got ported much the same way that the Wii U games did.
But none of them ported were as good as the original.
Some could say better.
Who?
Code Veronica had way more content.
Sonic
Adventures had more content when it went over there.
Didn't play as well.
Crazy Taxi got more content when it got ported over.
But Jim, you're also pointing out one interesting flaw, is that we all know Sega's not a good company. So
they weren't.
Just like the Genesis,
the thing comes down to these are very similar consoles because both of them were like the direct result of their company's hubris. Because the Dreamcast was actually a victim of the Saturn, which was actually the console that came before it that had some arcade quality stuff on there before the Dreamcast ever did. A lot of the fighting games on the Saturn are Dreamcast or arcade quality. So your argument for that with the Dreamcast,
not as good.
A little bit invalidated there.
Also, the problem with the Dreamcast was, I can't remember, was it followed or did it precede the PS2?
It came before the PS2.
Yeah, so
they immediately gave up.
It was right on the dawn of the biggest console in history and still holding today. So naturally.
But how they knew it was going to be big, but it didn't have games, and it wasn't as big. It was a big seller because of the DVD drive. It wasn't even a seller because of the games. But even then, Dreamcast went, well, we can't do this, and Sega gave up. When it comes to more detrimental and the fact, like, they needed a home run with the Dreamcast, and it did well for its 18 months, but it wasn't the home run it needed. Wii U, it was a disaster too. But you know what? All the ideas that they took from that, and it developed IPs that, much like the Dreamcast, lived on, but that Nintendo itself was able to take advantage of, and not like Sega.
Are you suggesting Nintendo is not bigger than Sega?
Well, now it is by default.
Even back in the day, you're saying the NES and Super NES weren't bigger than Sega?
Well, you know what? It's different. Like Sega in the arcades as compared to the home consoles in the 80s. And then with the Genesis and Super NES, they're about equal. And then Sega fucked itself up. So.
And you're not suggesting that Nintendo's biggest console, the Wii, preceded the Wii U, and it should have been working off the momentum of that and holding some kind of torch?
Well, the problem is it tried to go off the momentum of that because no one knew what the hell the Wii U was.
Yeah, but the Dreamcast came off the momentum of what? The Saturn, which had no momentum?
Had no momentum.
Yeah, so one company had a ton of momentum, the biggest console ever, well, almost ever, besides the PS2, and the other company was already on a slump trying to fight uphill, and the other one was coming from down here and fucking plummeted. So you're going to say that's the same?
Yeah, but the Dreamcast is a noisy piece of shit, too. Terrible hardware. If it's such a good console, then
Still
how's it
works.
so easy to pirate everything on it?
But that's the good thing that you can pirate stuff.
It's a good thing for the user, the end user, obviously.
What are we? Are we the users or not?
Look, Brian, we got to talk about what was more detrimental to the company here. That's what the argument was.
No. It was which console is worse. That's all it was.
Still the Dreamcast.
See, you see, as he fails, he tries to make the argument about what was more detrimental.
If you want to go with it, one company died after their console, One had some of the... All right, so our camera just shit out, so hopefully it caught it, but the library's better. The longevity of the IPs that were created are going to be better. And let's face it, when Mario Maker came out on the Wii U, it was like a cultural phenomenon. What was a phenomenon on the Dreamcast? Nothing. That's what? What, 3D Sega? Ooh, the thing no one likes.
Power Stone, Marvel vs. Capcom
That was not
2.
a phenomenon. One was an arcade port, so that's not it's
It's
an
still-
original IP for it.
We're talking about the console itself. When anyone ever says, "Hey, let's go back and play these old consoles," are they ever going to say Wii U? Which all the games have already been converted to Switch. So
And
the
plus, the Wii U has
completely
full
useless at this point.
upscaling backwards compatibility of the Wii library.
Yeah, no, which nobody cares about.
No, it's amazing.
No, nobody
It's
plays
fantastic.
that. Nobody plays old Wii games.
I did it
on the
last
Wii.
month.
But you're you. Like, you can't. You're like the.
I just invalidated your argument. I did it.
As a lot of things that happen in today's culture, I'll say, you can't always just say the norms are because you have this 1% or even 0.5% outliers. Like, meh.
Look, Brian,
So-
you know more than I do that society today will cater to the 1% in a lot of ways.
I know,
all right?
but that's not how it works, Jim.
Political.
At the end of the day, Dreamcast will always be the system that if you do want to go back and play some of these classic games, even if they're ported, it played a lot better on the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to go back and say, you know what? Let's play the Wii U. You got your tablet? Oh, it doesn't connect? Oh, it sucks. All right. So
Simple fix.
at the end of the day, Jim is just arguing that something I've already told him many times. Sega just never did good in many of the things it did. That the company itself faltered because it was already on the decline, and this was a last-ditch effort, and doesn't want to accept the fact that Nintendo is fucking Nintendo. It's kind of like saying if, Disney did a bad movie versus, some other company that just tried to do a big movie and failed. You can see where Jim's argument. He's not coming from a gamer perspective. He's reaching. So, So,
Look, Brian, one can play Wii Sports, one can't. Argument over.
the Wii plays Wii Sports, and that's
Yeah.
why it sold like gangbusters.
Right.
Because the controllers worked better, too. So,
Actually, there's an argument for you. Wii tablet controller, surprisingly comfortable controller. Dreamcast controller, hunk of shit.
that's not the argument.
That is an argument. Part
And-
of the overall argument right
and
there.
it's funny that he's going
Better
to
controller, better
argue
shitty
that
controller.
the Dreamcast controller's so rough on his hands when he's had one for all of 4 years and probably played 20 hours tops on that system. When I
Right, if I had a controller I would want to play, I'd obviously play it more.
and I've played it long enough to know.
And if any
there
of the
was
hardware in a
no
Dreamcast
issue
would
with
last more than 5 years because they all break down because they're all made terribly.
my original Dreamcast still works
'Cause you
so
never
does the
play yours.
hardware.
You never touch yours.
Jim, do we need to go into? Do we need to do an inventory of games and who plays what? And remember, this is the guy talking about controllers who says the N64 is one of his favorite. Just saying.
I love it because I don't have little bitch baby hands. Everyone's like, I get it. I can't control your middle dick. You don't need the middle dick.
That's what
Just
Jim
hold it
loves.
like a man.
He just likes holding the middle dick. It's his upbringing.
As
It is what
opposed,
it is.
as opposed to what other dick, Brian? The side dick? There is no side dick.
This is just
Terrible argument.
This is just what Jim likes in life. And I'm not hating on him for his lifestyle. He can do what he wants to do.
You leave my middle dicks out of this.
So I love the argument. We all know who won. But it is not even a point.
This is one that I know straight up that I'm just going to lose in the comment section anyway because everyone loves their precious Dreamcast.
Jim, you haven't won. You can't say this is the one I'm going to lose. You haven't won one yet.
Nah, I win some.
You legit. You know that's just
Nah, I
a
win
fact.
some.
This is the. I said we need to get it. We need to all pitch in. Jim needs a brain scan. See how that CTE from non-contact tennis happened, or whatever else happened.
From getting hit in the head with too many balls.
So yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't run with that
Oh,
one.
I'm. I'm trying to be classy here, Jim.
Since when?
You shouldn't punch down, and I've learned that. So I'm trying not to punch down. So I like that topic. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a good one. And she just threw that out there on her whim, and she came back from like lunch break, and she's like, "Holy shit, what the hell happened?"
All right. So next up, we have an interesting study, and it's a beer topic. Of
Such a good use of funds.
it was. We followed where the study came from, and it's linked to Cornell. I don't know for sure. It seemed like some students might have conducted a survey.
It seems like Cornell published it, but the one news article we found from local6abc.com said it came from the University of like Southern Denmark.
Yeah. But at the end of the day...
And if you look at all the names of the people who did it, it's like Vrika Schlargen Beaver Durban.
God damn it, Jim.
I think that's the actual name.
So the question is tapping the top of a beer can, will it stop the fizzing? And the study concluded, no.
Shocker!
Which, it's still something I honestly, I haven't done that in a while. Like,
I couldn't tell you the last time I did that.
But then again, like, I think Jim and I, the way we've drank most beers, and unless you're at a party and you're pulling something out of a cooler, I don't worry too much about opening up.
Hey!
Thank you, Jim. It's just it's fascinating that someone spent time, and once again, I'm just hoping it was just students, and hey, if they can get like fucking credit for doing a silly study like that, Jim and I would have easily done that, because they have formulas, they have the actual...
12 people did it, so I think it was a student thing.
Yeah.
So, like, I love just seeing, like, the actual, like, thesis, like, written up here, like, from, like, the college paper here.
Yeah.
Like, objective. Preventing or minimizing beer loss when opening a can of beer is socially and economically desirable. One theoretically grounded approach is tapping the can prior to opening, although this has never been rigorously evaluated. So they just go through all their... They assign all these number values to, like, unshaken or untapped or shaken, give all these... things, and basically they went through like 1,000 beers and they're like, nah, it doesn't work.
Yeah, and here's the deal. I love when they say they're suggesting beer loss. Unless an asshole friend of yours sat there, shook it up, and then he gave it to you.
Unless you're Bart Simpson.
Yeah, like, you never, like, you might go, oh, okay, there's a little bit. It's just funny someone spend that much time. The conclusion, it doesn't help. The thing that does help, if you have a shaken up beer... I'm going to do this because I'm going to open this later. You apparently just let it settle. That's it.
Yeah, like I'm just assuming that they're like, one of these assholes was at a party and they like dropped their beer and they immediately picked it up and opened it and they got jizzed on and they're like, oh my God, how did it happen? If only I tapped the beer bottle.
Now here's the deal. Damn it, Jim. As I let this settle later in the podcast when I open it, if it sprays all over, I'm going to open it near Jim.
No.
And we'll test this theory.
God damn it.
But yeah, it's...
I'm the one who has to drive home. I can't be smelling like beer.
So, yeah, fascinating fact that it's a study, but sorry, guys, if you thought this was going to help you, you're shit out of luck. So, Jim, this next one, this guy.
This guy is a... All right, so the headline, this comes from Kotaku. The headline, vaping congressman who spent campaign funds on Steam games resigns. One, hashtag our guy.
No, I'm sorry. And if any of our fans out there do this, please don't vape. Not for this. Whatever your reasoning, the fucking devices look so ridiculous. It's a metallic dick in your mouth. No.
Steampunk dick.
And he looks like he could be another Manning brother.
They put a gif on here of what do you call it? Him. He's in like Congress smoking his vape during a
It'll be in the link. Yeah, I like he's such a dick about it, but he looks like an asshole. But here's the thing that I find fascinating, and somebody in the gaming industry, Kotaku apparently, they must have read what he's being charged for misusing $250K, and yet $1,528 of that was spent on Steam.
If you're doing a Steam sale, that's like 10,000 games. What the fuck are you spending $1,500 on Steam for?
I'm not even worried about that. I'm just worried, like, they pulled this line item and they had to probably do just a little bit of digging. They're like, oh, it's a gaming article. It's like, that is less than 1% of 1%. It's like so small in the grand scheme of how much this guy dicked around with. It's funny. I would love to know, like Jim said.
I like that he blamed his kid for the Steam problem.
Yeah, which it probably, I would be shocked.
Maybe he's buying skins in League of Legends. Who knows?
That's what I mean. Like micro purchases, all that crazy shit.
Now, I mean, there's also wire fraud, falsifying records, campaign finance violations, and conspiracy.
But who cares about that? It's the video games that are a problem, Jim.
That's a problem. It's a Republican Duncan Hunter of California. I mean, I guess formerly of California.
Yeah, this came out early December of last year. So, of 2019, I should say. So I'm sure he's probably resigned by now.
Though I do love that the GIF is, what do you call it? When he was doing that was during a committee hearing about whether to ban e-cigarettes on planes. That's just a fuck.
Yeah.
This guy's my favorite. I love him.
Steam should hire him just to do a talk and make everything okay.
Vapes like a dick, buys Steam games, running PA. Get my vote. That's our guy right there.
We know we get Jim's vote. Giving Jim's choices.
I make great choices.
Yeah. We'll save your choices. We need to get back to Jim's angry moments and Jim's terrible choices.
I haven't had a lot of anger lately. Except for, like, my car. But besides that.
You're always angry. You're like, it's literally like when Mark Ruffalo was like, my trick is I'm always angry. So, like, you're basically, you used to be Mr. Pleasant Boy. Mr., and then on one day, well, we know the day. But one day, everything switched.
When I stopped smoking weed, right? That was the day. That was the day.
Yeah, Jim, that was the day. So, all right, let's move on to this next one from WizMnews.com. Utah tosses $18,000 worth of drinkable beer after a law change.
So this is kind of like a follow-up to the story we had a couple podcasts ago. Basically, Utah was one of the last ones to change their minimum, it was like the maximum that you could sell.
How much you could sell. So they can't allow higher alcohol. So basically, their limit is 5% beer.
It went up from 3.5 or something like that?
Something like that. But
they threw out $18,000 worth of beer the other day, and this is from 2 or 3 months ago. And it was actually legally required because from state-owned liquor stores because a new law allowed those beers to be sold in private retail stores instead. So I guess because of whatever laws they have out there, they couldn't just ship the inventory or sell it off to a private distributor. Also, it was technically expired beer from what they're saying.
But still, you're telling me you can't. I'm always confused by this state to state laws of selling beers because we've had beer shipped to us by, obviously Jim has these, there's companies and there's some states that you can ship beer to.
But also weirdly enough in PA, you can't personally ship beer from out of state into the state.
Yeah. As I'm learning, that's definitely.
I have friends who live out of state and we both do who we've tried to have send beer to us and it's can't do it.
But so essentially it equated to 275 cases of beers. Once again, you're telling me you couldn't just give it do something else with it than just throw it out?
To clarify, what do you call it? Convenience stores and grocery stores.
Yeah.
They could sell beer there, but it couldn't be higher than 4% alcohol. So then the limit got up to 5%.
Yep.
So that's where it came from, and everything else was sold at a state store. So for whatever reason with the laws, they just couldn't ship the beers over. They had to dump it all.
So to give you context, the beer...
They couldn't... State-owned stores can't stock anything available on the open market. That's what it was.
So I don't know what percentage Jim's beer is, but these Bud Light Platinums are 6%, so they could not be sold there. So this would have been a type of beer that would have been disposed of because it's too high.
Yeah, this actually doesn't say how much alcohol is in here. Surprising.
Yeah, but the way it's tasting, it's over 5%.
It's probably it's probably in the sixes.
Yeah. So that's just silly, and this is one of those antiquated. And if you're from Utah, you're probably not listening to us. We're probably just the fact that we have Drink a Beer in our name. You're probably blocked in Utah. Who knows?
No, I think they can probably listen, but they're sitting around to fire with their 7 wives.
Joke. That was a joke.
I was going for the polygamy joke here, and you had to trample all over it. God damn it.
Don't go for the low hanging fruit. I don't go after you. Don't go after the low.
You.
When have I not been pushed to have to go after you?
Okay.
When you present a choice. Okay. So, yeah, if you're from Utah, please let us know. And let us know how much it sucks to not be able to enjoy good beer there. Sorry for you guys.
We only just recently got grocery store beer in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
After never having it.
And even though we can have the highest percentage beer possible, we can only have beer over 7 or 8% served in a very specific glass. You can't get higher glasses, and we can't have ciders over 8%. So
and grocery stores, you can only buy 12 packs tops and 2 12 packs, and then you would have to go in and out of the stores if you want to get more.
It's the only good reason of only good thing about living so close to Jersey is we can go over there and get their alcohol a lot
Discount.
better. Yeah, exactly. So let us know if you're from Utah.
Yeah, and if you're from, whatever state you're in, give us like your most random weird beer law and alcohol law.
Yeah. All right, the next one. I threw it on here. So
You have finally, after, over a year of having your Switch?
yeah, so I finally signed up for Switch Online to play online. I have Mario Kart now. Before I had Breath of the Wild and South Park, Fractured Butthole, and Smash Brothers. That's all I had on the Switch. And I played the shit out of all those, but I never felt the need, like, I'm not going online. Jim's usually playing terrible shit. Like, there's no point, and not a lot of my friends have Switches. So then finally I was like, I want Mario Kart. Let me get it. I might as well get online, because as fine as the...
You can play me.
Exactly. So I had downloaded Tetris 99 because I saw it was free, but I didn't realize back when I downloaded it that it required online play. So I got this literally as of last week. And I was like, let me try out Tetris 99. Now, granted, we still have a drinking game.
This invalidates the drinking game. The rules, doesn't it, though?
It invalidates
because
the
that was
things
supposed
you
to be
have to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
You won't have to do the things you have to do. Well, you're going to do a truffle shuffle other ways.
I will not do
and
that.
you'll have to give up your video games in other ways.
Never.
But we'll still have, and I've already formulated some pretty tasty ideas for a drinking game for that.
All right.
But I played it, and I just wanted to give my quick 2 cents, because Jim sucked it off really hard, and
Yep.
I just said, it didn't seem like that appealing. I was valid in my thought, but there's a caveat. It's Tetris. Tetris is amazing. I love Tetris. And I don't like using the word strategy, because like most battle royale, and I'm just going to call this a battle royale because you're going against 99 other players.
It is essentially Battle Royale.
There is more than any other battle royale, I'll say. It's pure luck if you can win, because
you're Japanese, because those fuckers always win.
Well, there's a lot of Japanese people, Jim.
That's why
It's
I
not
haven't
the
won
same
yet.
one every time.
That's why I haven't won yet.
So, the basic gist I've noticed is what really determines your strategy is you're just playing Tetris the regular way. It's just what you set your attack to. It can be random. It can be people who have badges, meaning people who have KOs. It can be KOs, so if someone's really close to a limit, you keep piling up this garbage. And there's attackers, so anyone attacking you, you send shit back their way. Obviously, the goal is get as many Tetris lines. Depending on how many lines you clear, you send X amount of garbage to people. The more KOs you have, that adds a percentage. If you do T-spins, it's all good. I get the theory behind it. But I can tell you after playing, 20, 30 games of it by now, I've gotten as low as number 2. And there's been games where I've gone on a streak of being in the top 10, and then I'm out by 80 because 5 people attacked me at the same time, and I had a completely fine low level, and it was just so doesn't matter how good of a Tetris player you really are, because there's some things you can adjust for, and they give you signals that someone's about to attack you. But the problem is if so many people are set to random and you just happen to be that random asshole of that game, there's nothing you can do against that. So I don't like that it's that high of a level of that's luck of the draw. It does make that if you ever get number 1, that much more special. But I would rather have it be somehow tied more to if you're just a good Tetris player. Now, what helps me is when we do the drinking game, because it's random and it's luck, I know I can do better than Jim. Because if it was just skill, I know Jim's better at Tetris than me. There's no doubt about that. But now that there's luck involved, I have a much better chance of getting him to end up drinking a lot more. Let's put it this way.
Could be some fuckery.
So that, at the end of the day, it's fine. It's free, so I can't really bitch about it.
And there's a ton of game modes they added after the fact. You can buy it separately physically, and it'll give you a year's worth of Nintendo Online and all the game modes. You can play against bots and shit like that. But if you just get it free on Nintendo Online, you have to buy it separately. Which, why would you ever do that?
Yeah, there's no point. If you want to just play against, I don't know. I think that would be very silly. Unless,
and, there's team battle modes and shit like that now too that they added after the fact, which you have to buy separately. So there's kind of a reason at this point, but not enough for me to do it.
No.
And we're talking about me.
And I don't think there is I personally don't think there's a reason. The team battle could be interesting, but you can do that in the free mode. The going against bots, that defeats kind of the whole purpose. Like, at that point, just play Tetris on the hardest mode possible. Like, I don't know. But it's fine. Jim sucked it off way too much.
I love it.
But, yeah, it's the biggest thing is it's addictive because you can get through a game and depending how quickly you get knocked out, like 6 minutes.
It's such a just one more time kind of game.
It's and you know, many times, hence why it's next to my toilet, because I'll be on there and my legs go numb because I played too many games in a row. Like, let me just get one more in. And so I can't wait for a drinking game because now I know my chances are much better at making Jim drink a lot more. Because I know it's not just about being a good Tetris player.
At least I don't have to play Donkey Konga with my shirt off.
Yet.
That's
if I get first place on our first time we do this.
Nay. That was your first time ever. That was the stipulation.
How about this? If we play 10 games, if I can get first place 2 times in that, which I won't even get first place 1 time, but if I can get it 2 times, he's doing it. That or behind his will, I'll have you guys secretly vote on a game I steal from him. It'll be one or the other.
No.
It'll probably be a TurboGrafx game.
No.
So I just wanted to throw that out there because I know Jim talks so much about it. And, you know, I just had to.
That's cool to hear your thoughts on it finally.
Yeah. All right. So what's next, Jim?
All right. Another Which is Better. Coming out from our buddy Kit. Which is better, Madden or NFL 2K?
Given the longevity, I probably would say I prefer Madden. From the original Genesis to when was the last?
The first Madden came out in like '89. It's still going today.
Is it still?
Oh, yeah.
I thought now it's just officially. So it's not just 2K. NFL 2K.
No. NFL 2K died in 2006. I want to say because EA threw a shitload of money at the NFL to have like the exclusive rights to the players.
Yes.
So that killed NFL 2K.
And actually, that's what I was saying about Dreamcast. So that NFL 2K might have started on Dreamcast.
Did. It started on Dreamcast.
So
did NBA 2K and all the 2K games.
I played, in all honesty, like one NFL 2K game. Madden is the standard for a reason. I mean, when it comes to football simulation, that's kind of the go-to.
Yeah, I was always a Madden guy. I didn't play enough 2K, but like there's a lot of people who were like big in that era who will say that like the 2K games at their time were better than any of the Maddens at their time.
I wonder if it was just a matter of if they were just slightly more arcadey.
I want to say maybe, but I didn't really play enough. I did play, what do you call it? The only 2K I've played lately was like MLB 2K like 12 maybe. Mm-hmm. And it definitely plays a lot different than like MLB The Show. But in a way, it's like still just as good. It's only like maybe a matter of like preference for actual playing. Where like MLB The Show is more like, you know, you hit triangle, you throw it to second base. Mm-hmm. Where with the 2K games, it's like how you flick the stick and like you use the other stick to charge your throw and shit. So in a way, the 2K games are almost like more immersive than the EA games like really ever were.
Yeah.
But then again, without really spending that much time back when they were relevant, I couldn't really say about
it's
NFL 2K. It's
tough to go back and say, but I mean, Madden is Madden for a reason. Not even suggesting it's a fun. It's not even the most fun football game necessarily.
Right.
But yeah, when it comes,
I do think 2K might be a little more fast paced. Yeah. Because like even like quarterback club games back in the day, like when that was the alternative to Madden.
Oh yeah.
Like the quarterback club games played super fast. 99 played too fast, but like there was definitely more arcadey and like it was just more fun and just a straight simulation kind of game.
But there's some dudes that they just want simulation. They want it to play the way they know, and that there's a market for that too for a reason.
Yeah, I mean like just besides the fact it's really at this point the only game in town. There's a reason why it still comes out every year and people still buy it up by
every year.
By buku bucks. It's still in the top of every year for sales. Everyone says they hate Madden, but everyone buys it anyway.
Yeah. And we're no better. We buy a new Call of Duty every year.
Oh, yeah.
And you could argue that every shooter like Call of Duty's, well, not so much Halo, but really Call of Duty's Battlefields, there's drastic enough differences between the games.
Yeah.
Versus Madden is a roster update and maybe a few changes that are just minor from year to year.
There's tweaks for the better or worse. Yeah.
Exactly. That's like, well, That's unfortunately like fucking
WWE games.
wrestling games now
Yeah.
are just down that path of,
They try too hard to be different.
or they just they fuck it up. But that's because wrestling sucks now.
Right. That was a fantastic Royal Rumble.
Fantastic.
Just happened.
Just because
It was
because
amazing.
it's been
It was so good.
Just because it's been 10 years of absolute horseshit from WWE, and now you finally get a nugget. This is basically like,
Oh, no, this is going to be the high point for probably the decade for WWE. Don't
that's
get me
my
wrong.
point. I'm saying like
It was a perfectly booked Royal Rumble for the men. The women's one, who cares? But the men's one.
Just don't defend wrestling, Jim. That's all I'm gonna say. Just don't defend it.
It was so fun. It
You
was so
tried back in the day, and you knew it sucked. Then,
So good.
But you're like, guys look like. Never mind. So. So yeah, no, thank you, kid. I like that question.
Yeah, sorry we don't know enough about 2K to really fairly put it in there.
Yeah, but no, I still say I'm sticking to my guns. I'm going Madden. All right. So
How's the camera looking?
we're good. We got 9 minutes.
Yeah.
All right. So we promise, guys, this is not a crazy long 100 or 50 list of the decade. Like
These
all
are
that
easy
shit.
topics, but even I'm getting sick of these.
Yeah, but this one, as soon as I saw it, I was like, God damn it, Jim. But then I
It's short.
pre-screened
It's short.
it. So from WashingtonPost.com, they listed the most influential games of the decade. And although I didn't count it, I'm pretty sure it's 10.
It's around that, yeah.
And we'll just go through, this
It goes basically year by year, but it kind of cuts off to
yeah, it's not necessarily year by
every
year.
single year.
But
yeah.
what I like about this list, before we go into it, is the fact that it just is a super broad, and it captures a lot of things Jim and I said during all those lists. Like, there's some games you can't put on best game ever because they're really not the best game, but they introduced a gaming moment or a gaming this or gaming that. This list captures it pretty goddamn well. So we'll start with 2010, Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Definitely survival horror, had its whole root in Resident Evil. There was a big hiatus because they dicked around, and so did Silent Hill with the formulas, and they were on a decline, and there was other things on PlayStation especially, but Amnesia: Dark Descent, holy shit, the first-person survival horror, it set the tone. It made you less about combat. It made it more about you're seeing things that aren't really there. It was a great game, and I love that that's on this list.
Yep. And after that, another 2010 one, Minecraft. That was like the first official release, even though it's been around since 2009 in like different various beta forms. So,
Yeah.
But I mean, it's fucking Minecraft. What more are you going to say at this point about it?
Minecraft, honestly,
It's still like, even people like PewDiePie in this day and age can still like go back to Minecraft and be like a Minecraft streamer, and people just show up and buy the boatload for it.
and it doesn't matter how old you are, it's virtual Legos and world. Like, I honestly, it might be controversial, I still say if you ever make a list of the most important games or crazy games of ever,
I'd say Minecraft's the top 10.
it's got to be, I'd say it's got to be top 3. Just
Yeah.
because like of what it represents, and it changed
And
away
culture.
the number of
Culture.
people. Culture. Well, people. That game was definitively the game that people watch other people just play it.
Minecraft's almost like the Super Mario Brothers of like the 2010s, or of like of like this day and age.
Exactly.
Like, I can't tell you what, like, I mean, I know Fortnite's the hot shit right now, but
No,
I can't think in
yeah,
terms of like
Minecraft.
pure like cultural and just like being like just changing the game basically. What Minecraft did.
It didn't spray them.
Didn't spray. All right, so before we actually move on, single track, what did you think?
It was good. It's
It was good. It was smooth. I don't know how much. You know what? I like that for just like a standard pale ale, not even like an IPA. Like, it still had a good full like mouthfeel to it.
It was plenty hoppy.
It was hoppy. It didn't have like a strong. It didn't have an overly strong like grab the back of your throat aftertaste with the hops and anything like that.
Yeah. No,
But
it
very
was
smooth
fine.
drinking beer.
No, I like it. I like it was a bit more malty than most pale ales. So.
Yeah.
All right. Fuck.
The translation of that was probably give me a Blood Like Platinum.
All right. 2011, Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, the genre that created, the style game.
But actually, Demon Souls created the genre.
Yeah, but nobody played that. There's a reason for this list. Jim, I'm skipping you just so I can say this. 2011.
Of course. Finally, right, you have your moment here.
Fucking
You finally
Skyrim.
have your moment.
There's nothing for me to say. Skyrim. Yes, Skyrim, the game that is still widely played on every modern system and remade for a goddamn reason. Best RPG of all time. Suck a dick, Jim.
I don't even like RPGs. I don't give a shit.
I know. I'm just,
Jesus.
I just gotta say it.
Number 12, Candy Crush Saga.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the most addictive mobile games ever made. Still relevant as hell today.
Of the 9...
I know people who are on like level like 10,000 in that shit.
Yeah,
Like,
of the mobile games, that... Oh, man. I may get some heat for this.
and then you talk about how it has the freemium model where it's like free to play, but you can buy the more shit they have, blah, 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 blah.
But this game, truly, age and gender did not matter, because, not saying there's not a lot of gamer girls out there. There are. But people who had zero interest in games, and especially girls, were playing the shit out of Candy Crush, and obsessively at that.
Holy shit. By 2017, it was downloaded by a third of the human race. It was downloaded 2.7 billion times.
There you go. So, yeah.
Wow.
That
Wow.
has to be on there.
Wow.
2012, a game I've mentioned many times, The Walking Dead Season 1.
Arguably the one people like the most too, story-wise and all that.
Yeah.
The one that really made the impact.
I mean, this is point-and-click games were all but
They were
completely dead. Telltale, they had the Wolf Among Us, which I loved, but The Walking Dead really, it had that perfect storm of the show was at its highest peak at that time, plus this goddamn... Telltale was like really getting in their groove with how to make the mechanics of the game work, and just the story of that fucking. If you don't tear up a little bit, you're just there's something wrong with you, you know. So
I didn't cry. I also didn't play it.
yeah, I was gonna say you're not allowed to play good games. You play games like Flower.
I love Flower. You can cry, Flower.
Of course you do, Jim. That's that CTE talking.
Right, you can bring color back to the world.
Let's go. What's the next one, Jim?
2014, Destiny. Kind of surprising to see it on here, but there have been a lot of looter shooters that have come out since. So this was like the first one to really bring it to the forefront.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew people who were obsessed with this game when it first came out. And I guess it still has a strong enough fan base. It's not one that like our group of friends, whether like in real life or online, like ever really got into it that much.
No.
But I know it has its hardcore things. And it's where games like Apex Legends and Anthem also came from and shit like that. So it definitely had its impact. I don't know if it was the most impactful, but the first one definitely left a mark.
All I'll say is, to me, this is the weakest entry on this list.
I can go with that.
2015, The Witcher 3. Yes.
We have a TV show now.
I mean, it is the best pure action game of the decade. So, yes, it should be on there.
Action RPG.
Jim, I'm just saying action. Shut
RPG.
the fuck up.
Western RPG. Some would say better than Skyrim. I don't know. I don't want to play.
It's too different from Skyrim for me to compare, Jim.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't played it.
One's a pure RPG, one's not. Because the character's already rendered for you, so how's it really RPG?
Yeah. Because you're role-playing as the role.
Yeah, but you're...
Taking baths.
But then Super Mario is an RPG because you're role-playing as Super Mario.
2016, Pokemon Go. I mean, what more can you say about Pokemon Go?
Yeah, when I first saw Candy Crush, I was like, all right, they better have Pokemon Go, because the mobile game that got people fucking outside and going to parks more often.
I will still say, like, one of the best months of gaming ever was that, like, first 2 months of Pokemon game was out. Like, just the way people were, like, walking around and just interacting with each other.
Yeah, and
like,
you would see...
Like, since the days of cell phones, no one has ever, like, talked to each other or,
Yep.
like, met new people as much as when Pokemon Go first came out.
And I'll never forget, you going into parks, you see another dude head down with a phone in his hand, and you just say something to that effect. Like, oh, you're trying to catch the da-da-da-da. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, like, it's still not what it was, but, like, there are still signs at cemeteries and, like, you know, municipal buildings and government buildings saying, not a Pokemon Go stop, do not come in. Yeah. Do not trespass.
Exactly. And the final entry coming in at 2017 is Fortnite. Jim and I have said we prefer PUBG. I even think Blackout mode on Call of Duty Blackout 4 is better, but I get it. The popularity is undeniable. It's available on phones, on Switch. it's a phenomenon when it comes to that style of game, so it has to be on here.
And how accessible it is and stuff like that. Yeah. So, what more can you say about Fortnite at this point? A lot of people hate it, but it's the most popular game in the world right now for a reason.
Yeah, and here's my deal. As I said, I'm not strongly against any game on this list. They all make sense. Could other games be on here? Maybe, but these games make the most sense because you don't want to throw Breath of the Wild or Super Mario or like any of those games because they're just kind of reskins of older style of the same game.
I'm kind of surprised if a Five Nights at Freddy's didn't make it. Because at this point it's old hat, obviously, but for a couple years it was the game to
But if you were going
to
to do that, you would have to put Slender because that led to Five Nights.
Yeah, I guess you could do that.
So, but yeah, no, I really liked this list, so it was good. Probably the last list we'll touch for a while from decades of games. But yeah, let us know what you think of that below, guys. All right, and actually for our final topic, comes from GoNintendo.com. And basically, hundreds of knockoff consoles were seized by North Carolina from their anti-counterfeiting task force. And Jim and I actually, I think it was around Christmas time during one of the podcasts we talked about, we were at a mall and we noticed there was a kiosk selling, what was the number? It was how many games in...
It was 801 or some crap like that.
It was some crazy game. But we went over, we're like, okay, so this is a weird knockoff of the Nintendo Mini or Super Nintendo Mini. I forget which.
It was the NES Classic.
Yeah, so it looked like that, but I forget what do you remember?
I forget what it was called, but it had the weird it looked like an NES controller, but it had 4 face buttons on it.
Yep.
It only had composite video out and 800 games. So of course it's one of those ones that has. Probably about at tops 100, games from the NES, and then a bunch of pirated bullcrap games that no one cares about.
My favorite,
and I know so much about this because one of my my father-in-law, he has one.
So I remember we sat there and looked at the actual names of the games, and it would be
Super Mario 6, shit like that.
It would be that, or it would be something really goofy, like a spin on another game, instead of Mega Man, it's like Mega Boy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're like, what the fuck? And I just...
If you've ever bought a pirate system or a pirate Kart or stuff like that, it's one of those, but consoleized.
And Jim and I were kind of wow, okay, whatever, I'm shocked they get away with this. Now, granted, a most common people walking by, you're not going to... why would you give a shit?
Normies aren't going to know the difference anyway between that and a real, NES Classic.
Exactly. So...
They probably scammed a lot of grandmas.
They scammed probably plenty of people, but they were selling it for definitely no more than 50, but we thought $20. $30 tops.
Oh, yeah, I remember we asked, and we're like, $20, $30, maybe we'll just get one to dig around with for the page. And then I think we asked the guy, it was $50, and we're like, okay.
Yeah, so... In North Carolina, I guess they had this specific task force, and they seized. This is my favorite part. Mm-hmm. The sellers voluntarily surrendered 340 units, and then this line, these 340 units had a street value of $800,000.
Was there cocaine in these?
Now, for those of you keeping score at home. That would mean that each one of these units or consoles would have had to have sold for about $2,350.
But Brian, you get 800 games. How can you argue the value in the savings?
So here's the deal. I've never, ever, ever seen one of these things sell for the highest, I think, is maybe $100. Where it's someone who took a Pi, uploaded a bunch of emulated from every system, including arcades, and was
which itself is illegal to do.
Which is illegal, yeah. But they would sell for no more than 100 because I think they know they're just trying to get it out of their hands as quickly as possible. So I don't know where the frig 800K came from. I don't know. That makes no sense. A street value, though, I love. My only guess is the only thing that makes sense is they didn't consider the consoles themselves. They're saying 800 games, maybe each game is worth $50. I don't
even if you say each game's worth.
Well, no, if they
$2.50 a game, maybe.
Yeah, but that's my point. We know this probably didn't have a bunch of legit games on it. it probably had, like Jim said, like with the one we saw, a handful of legit NES, then a whole bunch of knockoffs. Mm-hmm. So I still am shocked. Why more states don't do this? But then again, is that like a really good use of their time? Like, are pulling these people off? Like, how many people are truly getting ripped off? And if somebody does, just...
I mean, all it takes is one person to complain.
And
that could set it in motion. And maybe North Carolina has a really strict anti-counterfeit task force.
Yeah.
Like, I just think, like, these people sell these things with the intention of no one's going to care that much that they're going to have someone come after them, or especially like Nintendo. And we know how Nintendo goes after people for stuff.
They do.
But
yeah.
This isn't going through an official channel or even a really easy way to do it. Like, say a mall gets a complaint from Nintendo about a kiosk, the kiosk just packs up and moves on to another place.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy enough to do.
Well, let me ask you, because, we've danced around, you and I are fine with emulation.
Right.
We're fine with all that.
Right.
Would you be okay with someone strictly charging you the price of, or someone charging other people, hey, you pay for a pie and pay me for assembling it for you guys, and add $10 for profit, and I'm going to sell you that with whatever you like. Therefore, you're not really charging for the value of the games on it. You're charging for the device itself and for time and labor to, if you either want to put it in display or put it in a way that's packaged so someone could just buy it.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, if we're talking like legality here, like, it's perfectly legal to build a pie and to put the actual emulator software on there, just not putting the ROMs on there. Where the legality comes in is the ROMs. So, I mean, if you're being a purist about it, then obviously selling preloaded ROM devices, it's if you want to say scummy, it's scummy. But as far as I'm concerned, I also don't really care that much. So, like, if you're going to spend your money on something if you're going to buy a pie, it's not like you're going to go buy all these games individually off the Switch eShop anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same old argument with, like, pirating music off Napster from 20 years ago.
Which, once again, I'm not cool with someone trying to, and I don't think it's done unless I'm wrong. Nobody emulates, like, oh, here's the newest Call of Duty PS4 or Xbox One.
You can't really do it right now anyway, but yeah.
So that's my point. Like, so
I mean, people will sell broken copies on, online for, like, Steam and shit like that to play it on your server or your play or whatever.
But like, I don't know. I look at it, as long as you're not doing a game that is actively still being developed and sold, if it's a game that, like, whether you do it or not, it's not going to affect the actual company who originated and developed it, because at the end of the day, there's a limited number of any game out there from older systems. And as you and I have said, for me, emulating, especially for this site and trying to get footage, it's actually driven me to go out and find a physical copy because I like the game so much.
Right.
Which I would not have done before had it not been for me emulating and trying it out. So,
I mean, let's put it this way. Like, you can even say there's, like, different degrees of it, too. Like, Mario you can buy anywhere, so if they put Mario on it, who kind of gives a shit? You can get it a billion other places.
Yeah.
But when we were at that thing called, like, a rock and roll flea market, I bought this little mini arcade thing that's it has maybe, like, 10 NES games on it and a bunch of pirate games, like the shitty puzzle games. But, like, it has a game like Scoon on it. No one cares about Scoon. No one's going to be bitching that someone's putting Scoon on a thing and selling it. So,
yeah.
And I doubt they got the license for Scoon. So,
no.
If it's a game that no one cares about in that kind of sense, no one's getting hurt anyway, especially if the developer's gone. No one bought the license, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
blah. So, there's a lot of gray areas to it. But when it comes to, if you're talking about games that are 30 years old, I really don't care that much.
Yeah, and I get, I'm trying
Of course, any company can always go back and resell something,
yeah.
but how often do they truly do it?
Or in a way, I don't know.
And even then, you could just, buy the pirate thing and maybe just buy it down the line anyway and, clear your conscience. I don't know.
Like, I wonder why companies like that, especially all the individual publishers, don't just, they know the emulation's out there. So kind of like how Napster kind of forced people stop selling albums, get on things like iTunes, sell your songs for super cheap, where it's like, all right, I'll spend the $150 for a thing instead of downloading the entire album because I don't need to do that anymore.
Right.
Plenty of people still download music, but I'm much more likely now where either I have a service like Amazon Unlimited Music, or I'll say, fuck it, I'll go to iTunes and pay the $1 or whatever. if they would just sell their IPs for some stupid price as an emulated version to be put on a pie just for that particular purpose, like, why not? You can make more money as the company itself, and there's a way. It's already out there. You just say, like, okay, well, here's the legal version, and now you can now turn around and do whatever.
I mean, there's an argument for that. Like, say, going back to Scoon, say you sell the ROM of Scoon for 25 cents.
Yeah.
A game that no one cares about, and you can just throw it onto a goddamn whatever you're making.
Exactly.
But you're doing it legally. There could be an argument there for some shitty, developer from back in the day to go, here's our library. You can buy our whole library for $5. We'll get you a license.
That's my point. Yeah.
And then here's a device, sell it for $20 for your parts and labor and our license and shit like that.
That's what I mean. Like,
give us a percentage. Like,
same way.
It's not like you're going to be making money on Scoon now.
Yeah.
So you might as well make it where you can.
Like how they license music, movies, all the media that's out there. It's like there's some that's really worthwhile, and there's others that's not worth shit. And they're like, yeah, you can have it for almost free. Do what you will with it. But
you have the Beatles and you have Engelbert Humperdinck. This is how these things happen.
I'm just amazed that they haven't gotten with that model yet, because they would be, at the end of the day, making money. Like, imagine
But then again, it's also the problem, too, where if someone's going to go through this kind of trouble, maybe with the cost-benefit analysis, maybe just selling it until you get caught and then you just kind of disappear could be the more profitable way to do it anyway.
And maybe other than eBay and these random-ass kiosks, it's not being sold as much.
And, I mean, there's also things where, like, there's apps like the Geek app, which basically just sells knockoff shit from China, which you don't want to do now because of Kung Flu, but...
Damn it, Jim.
What?
Don't... We are a beer site. Stick to Corona.
Just call it the coronavirus. All right, fine. But,
Fuck.
But, yeah, I mean, I bought a 401 Games Pirate card off there before.
Of course you did.
Yeah, I did. It was $13. You know what it has on there? Mighty Final Fight and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters. So that's $200 values of games right there that I paid $13 for.
But you already had the emulated version of both those games, so what's the point?
Yeah, just a lark. But, I mean, you could also buy... I also bought a fucking Super Nintendo controller off it that the ports of it are too big because they didn't whittle it down enough to fit into the goddamn slot. So, cheap Chinese knockoff shit, what are you going to do?
I know that pain. Too big to fit in. But go ahead. Jim, do you know... Oh.
I'm not touching that one at all. I'm moving on.
So, yeah, I mean, I get it. And once again, I feel no sympathy for these kiosk people. You know what you're doing. You know it's a risk.
And I mean, they just get some schmuck that they pay, minimum wage to get there to stand there and be like, oh no, it's got games on it, $50.
Yeah, it's not. They're not knowledgeable folks,
right?
So I don't
they're
know.
either working at a Cold Stone Creamery or they're working at your kiosk. So.
Yeah, so
I just hope like nothing came down like busting the people working at the places because guaranteed. Because guaranteed, like, from the people we've seen selling this shit, it's not people who know what they're doing.
No.
It's just people who are like, we have the games, come buy the game thing,
Yeah. So, I don't know. That's an interesting topic. I would love to know, I mean, we've talked emulation a lot on this, but we'd love to know your guys' thoughts. I don't feel like we are that talkative to anyone who's super against emulation. Like, there's not many purists we know. And it's
like even a lot of the pages out there that like go out of their way to record like all their gameplay footage for their videos and stuff like that, they still say, I mean, yeah, you could just emulate. Yeah. Like even they say like, emulation's out there. Like there's it almost seems like there's a very small amount of people who totally gatekeep against emulation.
Yeah.
But I think it's way smaller than you would actually think.
Well, as we discussed earlier, like you being in the small minority who likes to make loud noises, they must be out there enough. We've established that, Jim.
1%ers.
Exactly. So with that, guys, we really appreciate you staying tuned with us. Obviously, if you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube, on iTunes, and if you want to contribute to us, how can they do it, Jim?
Well, Brian, there's a ton of ways. You could, as you said, subscribe. Even check out our website, DrinkABeerandPlayAGame.com. We have a mailing list there. Sign up for the mailing list because you'll see mainly on there we put up our beer reviews, our separate stuff. But I've also been starting to upload, throw our video game reviews up there with small, quick reviews on there. I'm helping the SEO.
And there's going to be a lot more actual just dedicated because, as we've mentioned before with our website, We've had issues of it crashing. We lost all of our data, but I found a way to
Someone hasn't updated the drivers.
So I've been able to find our old posts and blogs from some of our old sites. So I'm going to be re-uploading those and probably...
That's one we should do, because I made like a ranty article, back when they first announced the Xbox One and when people were bitching about it. That would be fun to go back and see, because I'm pretty sure I was pretty fucking wrong on that one.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you're wrong on most things.
But it makes for conversation.
I think at the end of the day, I am going to have me and Jim just start doing more just random blog, just topics, just stream of thoughts, if you will, so we don't have to always save them for this.
Right.
And it can direct you to our site, which has other things on top of just our reviews.
Right. Other things on top of reviews, old interviews we did and stuff like that. And we are going to be starting to put some more, like I'm working on a thing right now. It's a Patreon exclusive kind of video for you in the meantime. So we're going to be doing more exclusive stuff on there, even though we contact our patrons all the time. Obviously, Patreon, if you want to subscribe and, give us whatever. You don't have to give us anything. Just, if you even show up to any of the shit we put out there, we appreciate it. So
yeah, for sure, guys. But thanks for watching, and as always, cheers.
Cheers. Please leave a comment and review on our iTunes.